Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I hope everything's going okay. Today we're going to do more solving of math equations. Now, what you've done previously, if you've done equations where you have to solve them by either adding something to both sides or by subtracting something to both sides. Today we're going to solve some equations by dividing something to both sides. And those equations are going to look like this. They're going to look like something that we'll call ax equals b. That'll hopefully make more sense in a few minutes. Now, the main focus of this section will be solving equations, but I'd like to do a couple of word problems just to show you where these math equations come from. Now, I want to look at the first question here. It says, if a number is subtracted from 4 times the number, the result is 9. What are the numbers? Now, normally you would have guessed and checked to get something like this, and I bet a lot of you could guess and check the answer right now. But what I want to show you is a way to get an algebra math equation from this problem and then solve that math equation. Now, in this problem, it's asking us, what are the numbers? There are 2 unknown numbers. And whenever we don't know something, we assign it a variable. Now, in this case, the numbers are related, so the variables are going to have to be related. Now, it says if a number, we don't know what that number is, so let's say, let x equal number 1. If a number is subtracted from 4 times the number, so we said the number is x, and now we have another number that we're going to call 4 times the number. Well, we've already called the number x, so our other number has to be 4 times x. So we're going to say let 4x equal number 2. So one of our unknown numbers is x, and the other one is 4 times x. Now what its problem is to subtract one number from the other. So we're going to subtract the smaller one from the larger one. So we're going to say 4x minus x. Now, something we learn about in algebra is that whenever you have a variable without a number in front of it, there actually is a number in front of it. The number in front of that is 1. So we can place a 1 there. And it says when you subtract those 2 numbers, the result is 9. Now let's simplify this a bit using integers. 4x minus 1x is 3x. Or that means 3 multiplied by a number. And 3x equals 9. Now, we now have a math equation in the form a multiplied by some number x equals b. In this case, the a is 3, the x is x, and the 9 is b. This is a multiplication equation. 3 times a number equals 9. To solve this, we do the opposite of multiply by 3. We do the opposite of what's beside the variable. Beside the variable is multiply by 3. The opposite of multiply by 3 is to divide by 3, and we're going to write this as a fraction. Divide both sides by 3. And what you get is 3 divided by 3 is 1x, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. And that's the same as saying x equals 3. Now we had 2 unknowns in the question. We had let x equal the first number. So we already know the first number is 3. The other unknown we said was 4x. So we would do 4 times 3 is 12. So the other unknown number, 4x, is equal to 12. And just to check that, if you did 12 minus 3, you would get 9. Now, we could have done that by guessing and checking, but That's a way to apply algebra to it. Let's look at one more. It says, Claudia and Addison decided to pay their own share of lunch. Claudia's share of the bill was twice as much as Addison's share. The total bill was $15. What amount did each person pay? Well, again, there's two unknowns in the problem. There's the unknown of how much Claudia paid and the unknown of how much Addison paid. But what we do know is that Claudia paid twice as much as Addison. Twice as much means times 2. So we don't even know how much Addison paid. So let's start with Addison. Let X equal Addison. And then it says in the problem that Claudia paid twice as much as Addison. Well, if Addison is X, then Claudia has to be 2 times that, or 2X. So for Claudia, let 2X equal Claudia. Now let's construct a math equation out of this. It says in the problem that their total bill was $15. So we have to take the amount that each person paid, add that up. So let's add up 2X for Claudia plus X for Addison. And we can think of that X as a 1X. And when we add those up, that gives us the amount of $15. Now if I have 2X's and I have 1X, that's a total of 3X. And that equals 15. Now what that means is 3 multiplied by a number equals 15. We now have one of those multiplication math equations. The way we can solve it is do the opposite of what's beside the variable. Beside the variable is multiply by 3. The opposite of that is to divide by 3. And if I do it to one side, then I have to do it to the other side. And 3 divided by 3 gives me 1x, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. Or I can say x is equal to 5. Now if I go back to my unknowns from the beginning, I already said x is Addison. So we know Addison's amount now. Addison's amount is $5. And we said 2x is Claudia, or 2 times Addison's amount. So if Addison's amount is 5, then Claudia's has to be double that. It has to be 10. And if you add those up, that gives you the total restaurant bill of $15. Our focus in this section is going to be solving math equations of this kind. Now don't stress too much if you didn't get the problem solving part. What we're going to be focusing on in the next video specifically is solving these kinds of math equations in the form ax equals b. So there's going to be another video where we do more of these. Flexing Teacher Weber, out.